Hi, this is Miss Pellegrin, and today we're looking at Module 2, Lesson 7, Addition of and Subtraction of Rational Numbers. So our goal today is that you are able to see that the rules for adding and subtracting integers apply to rational numbers as well as whole numbers, so fractions and decimals, and we're going to be modeling that on a number line. So go ahead and you are going to pause this exercise. Pause the video to try this exercise, and then afterwards go ahead and resume the video to check your answers. Okay, so suppose a 7th grader's birthday is today and she's 12 years old. How old was she 3.5 years ago? Write an equation and use a number line to model your answer. Okay, so when we're writing an equation, we want to write an addition equation. Since when we write a subtraction, all we do is we change it to an addition sentence to be able to use our addition rules. So she is 12 years old. Plus, and then how old was she 3 years ago? So we're going back past 3.5 years ago. Sorry, not 3. So -3.5. And then use your number line. Okay, so we are starting our number line at 0 since you can't be a negative age. So we're going to start it at, you should have started it at 0 and then went to 12. And then from 12, we're going back 3.5 spaces. So if you notice, they do have the half marks there. So we're going back from, oh wait, those aren't half marks. Sorry. That would be 11. So 12, that's 1, 2, 3, and we're at 9, and then we have to go halfway between. Okay, so our spot is right here at 8.5 years. So 12 plus -3.5 is equal to 8.5. So she was 8.5 years old. Or 12 minus 3.5 that we would have rewritten is equal to 8.5. So those are equivalent expressions or equations. Okay, in example 1, representing sums of rational numbers on number lines. So we're just representing the sum, the answer, on the number line rather than representing the entire problem. So step 1 is to place the tail of the arrow on 12. So we have a number line down here, so we're going to need to go ahead and number our number line. And it says place the tail of the arrow on 12. So we'll start this at 0. I think this is, and we'll go 1, 2, actually. And then we're going to be going back 3.5. So we can put this at 12. So this is 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And we put some numbers in between here. So 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. So A, or step 1, says place the tail of the arrow on 12. So here's the tail of the arrow. The length of the arrow is the absolute value of -3.5. So the absolute value of -3.5 is equal to 3.5. And so it's going to be 3.5 units long. So 1, 2, whoops, forgot I was counting, 3. And then we go a half, which puts us at 8.5. Sorry, step 3 is the direction of the arrow is left since you are adding a negative number to 12. So then we have 12 plus a negative 3.5 equals 8.5, or 12 minus 3.5 equals 8.5. Not really sure why we did that as an exercise and an example, but that's what our book is calling for, so I guess we're just going to get some more practice. Okay, exercise number 2. So go ahead and pause the video. It might be helpful if we notice that there's a half, that you are making the little halfway marks between each. Okay, so I had to start at a negative 2.5, so I was starting right here, and then I had to go to the right 5. So from negative 2.5 to negative 1.5 to negative 0.5, that's 3, 4, 5, 5. And so here's our answer, 1.5. Sorry, I made a mistake. This is why I always count at the bottom. So we started here. We had to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it should have gone a little bit further on and been at 2.5. So negative 2.5 plus 5 is equal to positive 2.5. Okay. In example 2, find the following difference and represent it on a number line: 1 minus 2 and 1/4. Okay, so we have a subtraction problem. So first, before we do anything, we have to rewrite the difference. So 1 minus 2 1/4 as a sum is actually going to be 1 plus a negative 2 1/4. So we add the additive inverse. Now follow the steps to represent the sum. So what we were doing in example 1, so we're writing our instructions. Place the tail of the arrow on 1. The length of the arrow is the absolute value of negative 2 1/4, which the absolute value of negative 2 1/4 is 2 1/4. The direction of that arrow is going to the left since you are adding a negative number to 1. Okay, so you have to draw your number line model in the space below. So if you notice on this number line model, since we're dealing with fourths, we split it up into fourths. So we have 0, and then we have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, which is the same as 1, and then 1 and 1/4. And then to the left, negative 1/4, negative 2/4, negative 3/4, negative 4/4, which is the same thing as negative 1, and negative 1 and 1/4. So we place the tail of the arrow on 1, so here it is at 1, and then we are going to draw it to the left since it's a negative, and it's going to go, the absolute value, the distance it's going to go is 2 1/4. So from 1 to 0 would be 1. So this is 1 whole. From 0 to negative 1 would be the second whole. This is 2. And then we had to go a fourth. And so that puts us at negative 1 1/4 as our answer. Okay. So 1 plus -2 1/4 is equal to -1 1/4. Okay, exercise 3, pause the video, try it on your own. You notice that it's a half, so you might want to be separating it, and do not forget to rewrite that subtraction problem before you begin as an addition problem. So we have -5 1/2, and it's adding the additive inverse. The additive inverse of -8 is +8. So we're starting our tail at -5 1/2. So here's -5 1/2 means we're starting right here. And then we're going to the right 8 units. Let's count on our number line this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to 2 1/2. I'm just going to put a dot there so I know where I'm going. So +2 1/2 is the correct answer. Okay, so 2 1/2. Exercise 4, so go ahead and pause the video. You can check after you do each one rather than trying to do all of them and then making a mistake. So pause the video, try one, play the video. Okay? Okay, so here's your number line. You started your tail at -6, and then you went to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1/4. So your answer would be right here. -1/4, 2/4, -3/4 is your answer. So it's equal to a -3/4. I don't know why I put that in parentheses. Okay, so on this one we had tenths, 9/10, and so we needed to first rewrite it. 7 plus 0.9, adding the inverse. And so we broke our line up into tenths. So this would be 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and then 10/10 would be our next whole. So we're going from 7, and then we're going to the right 9/10. And so 7 plus 9/10 equals 7.9. Okay, so here we're starting at +2.5. So here is +2.5, 2 1/2, plus a negative, so that means we're going to the left half, which leaves us with 2. So therefore our answer there is 2. Okay, so our line is broken up into fourths. So if we're at -1/4, we are right here, and then we've got to go to the right 4. So -1/4, we're going to go to the right 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. So that is 1 whole. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. 2 wholes. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. 1 whole. Okay, so we're going to the right. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I need to go further. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 4. Okay, sorry, finally found my mistake. My answer was supposed to be 3/4, 3 3/4. But if you notice, I started out at a positive 3/4 here, and I was supposed to start back here at negative 1/4. I don't know how that happened, but we all make mistakes. So negative 1/4, still same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this was 1, this was 2, this was 3, and that was 4. And so my answer is a positive 3 and 3/4. So we see subtraction, we need addition rules, so we change it to an addition. So we have 1/2 plus 3. So we're starting at 1/2, and then we're going to the right 3. 1, 2, 3, puts us at 3 1/2. So equals 3 1/2. Okay, so exercise 5, pause the video, try it on your own, play the video to check your answers. Okay, create an equation and a number line to model each answer. Samantha owes her father $7. We know that's a negative 7. She got paid $5.50. If she gives it back to her dad, how much will she still owe him? So this is going to be positive $5.50. So she started with a negative 7. We write addition sentences so we can use our addition rules. And she's adding $5.50 to that. So there is, create an equation. There's your equation. We just need to get an answer for it and a number line. Okay, so we're at negative 7. We're going to be going to the right, so I'm going to start my number line at negative 7, going to the right. Hopefully that's enough. 7. Whoops, not negative 8. Negative 6, negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. And we have our halfway marks, so we see it is 50 cents. They're just helpful. They're not necessarily required. So we're starting at negative 7, and then we're going to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 50 cents would be halfway. And so our answer is equals a negative 150. And so she still owes $1.50. B. At the start of the trip, a gas tank contains 12 gallons of gas. So it already contains it, so it's a positive. During the trip, the car consumes, so it uses that. So this is going to be a negative 10 1/8. How much gas is left in the tank? So we have 12 that we started with, which was positive. Writing an addition sentence plus a negative 10 1/8. That's supposed to be an 8. Number line. Okay, we're starting at 12 and then we're going to the left 10 1/8. So we're going to start over here at positive 12 and then we have to go 10 to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and a little bit. So we're starting at 12 and then we're going to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and an eighth. So just barely passed. So if we split this into eighths, we would just be going back 1/8, which would put us here at 7/8. So equals 1 and 7/8. So there's 1 and 7/8 gallons of gas left. And finally, part C, a fish was swimming 3.5 feet below, so this is a negative 3.5 feet at 7 a.m. 4 hours later, the fish was at a depth that is 5 1/4 feet below, so negative 5 1/4. So he was swimming down. Oh, where he was at 7 a.m. So we're going from negative 3.5 feet, and then we're going down another 5 1/4, not 5 1/2. What rational number represents the position of the fish respect to the water's surface at 11 a.m.? Okay, so this is the surface. The fish was 3.5 feet below the surface, so 3.5, so right here. And then we're going 5 1/4, so we need to go 5 feet first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 feet, so we're at 8.5. And then we're going 1/4 more, so 1/4 more than that. This is half, so this is 3.5. Whoops. So this is 3 1/4. So that puts us right there, which is at a negative 8 3/4. And so notice when we're dealing with something like temperature or sea level, it's better to do a number line that is vertical rather than one that is horizontal. So equation, negative 3.5 is what we started with, addition sentence, and then we were taking away another 5 1/4, and so that is equal to, we said negative 8 3/4. Okay, so your lesson summary, the rules for adding and subtracting apply to all rational numbers, whether it's positive or negative. And we can find it by placing the tail of the arrow and then going to the right, in this case, 4.3 units. Okay,